Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast for the next several days ahead. And we've still got plenty more of these cold changes coming through into the southeast. In fact, one next week might see polar air going right up to the Queensland border. So we are definitely not done with these cold surges. But what we are going to be seeing over the coming days are more showers and thunderstorms developing in some of the tropical areas. It is not a major change, but it is a bit of a change from where we've been. And you can see a few showers showing up here in the green around some parts of Queensland. Thunderstorms and downpours moving through New South Wales. That's the leftovers of that cold front that's been moving through. Not overly cold though, around Sydney today, it's going to be a pretty warm day. And further southwards around Tassie, you've got plenty of showers, mostly over on the west coast, some in the north, and a few thunderstorms early this morning. And Western Australia being clipped by yet another front, bringing some showers. Not too much in the way of thunderstorms, but a few showers, not only in the southern coastline, but sliding into the southwest as well. Dry for many other places. And the reason why is this gigantic high pressure zone that is controlling things. Now, look, this high over South Australia itself is not overly powerful, but it's connecting up to the big high stuck out over the Indian Ocean and the other one that is moving off towards New Zealand. And so high pressure is in the brighter shading here. That covers much of Australia, including even right down to Bass Strait. So stormy stuff remains south of Australia, windy weather between those lows and the high. And then further northwards, you see a bit of darker shading around the top of Australia. That's the usual sort of sinking air pressure that we get up there in the hotter areas. But at the moment, no big low pressure zones to worry about. It's showers and thunderstorms that we are seeing in the forecast. So we kick off with the Thursday map. The red line up here, the tropical boundary, that is sinking southwards. So that means more heat and humidity for the top quarter of Australia. And that's the area around Cairns that we're getting a few thunderstorms and showers, northeasterly winds straight off the Coral Sea. Further southwards, apart from a few isolated showers here and there, maybe a couple of thunderstorms in that mix, not too much going on for New South Wales, Queensland, and even Victoria. Now in Tasmania, your temperatures go up a degree or two as that polar boundary drifts back to the south of you. And over in Western Australia, no real change. Still got some showers coming through, southwesterly winds seems to be the main feature there, north of Perth as well. But further north of that, heat sinking down around the Kimberley, going in towards the Pilbara, and further south of that, easterly winds and mainly dry weather. Now look at Friday. This is where we start to see a bit more in the shower activity for dry inland areas, including South Australia, the southern half of the Northern Territory, and basically all around Queensland. It's not for everyone in Queensland, but the risk is sort of in the north, the central west, and further towards the south. In fact, coastal areas are looking mostly dry. So it's more of an inland setup. And then that spills over into parts of New South Wales. And then as you go further down towards the ACT and Victoria, now you're caught up in a different system, not calm with showers bubbling up, but windy with showers moving through. And that piles up the rain further on the western side of the Great Dividing Range and of the Alps. Eastern areas, windy, warm to some degree with those westerlies blowing through. And in Tasmania, the winds pick up as we go through the day. More rain and showers for the north and the western sides, fairly dry in the east. And the polar boundary is coming back northwards again. So I guess make the most of that warmth while you've got it. So thunderstorms are in the mix. Like I talked about, you've got these two different sets of weather. You've got the showers moving through, which could produce a few thunderstorms. And then as you go further into New South Wales, the winds ease back and you're perhaps more likely to see the risk of a severe thunderstorm developing as we go into the later part of Friday. So that's just worth monitoring. And basically anywhere where you see the yellow or the orange, that is the sign of thunderstorms and showers developing. So really, you are seeing some widespread showers, but not necessarily building up huge rainfall totals for everybody. But it's worth monitoring with the Bureau of Meteorology in case any warnings are issued. Windy weather here on Saturday morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, just past midnight. Blowing a gale, literally, through Bass Strait, which means if you're on the coastal parts of Victoria, not so much Melbourne, but right to the south, you may be a bit windy, a little bit windy through the mountains there, nothing too big. But Tasmania, strong winds coming through off the sea. And so west coast areas and southern parts may be the most exposed. And that's why we've got that purple severe weather box. Not only is it windy and not only is it wet on the west coast, but you've also got the polar boundary coming back up into Victoria, which means Tassie's going to feel the drop in temperatures again. And there might be a little bit of snow back on the very highest elevations. As you go backwards, you've got that wet weather, as I said, piling up on the western sides and the southwestern sides of the hills and the ranges. That's where you're likely to get some of the bigger rainfall totals. Not huge amounts of rain in the yellow, 20 or 30 millimetres are falling through there. As you go further northwards, there is a slight southerly breeze coming through, but what you're seeing here around Queensland and the northern part of New South Wales, more thunderstorms with the potential for those to be severe as we go into Saturday. Some of that rain may be falling overnight Friday and into Saturday morning rather than during the day itself. But again, wait and see as you get closer to the time. Further into South Australia, no real change. Showers, southwest to westerly winds blowing through there. And the high pressure zone, which is like a broken down truck, is just very slowly drifting towards Western Australia. And that will actually develop more of this easterly flow that you've got through central parts. And in the Northern Territory, more thunderstorms expanding and the heat line dropping down. You'll feel it in Cairns and inland areas right over towards Broome. All these places are going to be feeling more heat and more humidity as we go through the weekend. But it might start to ease a little bit going into Sunday. Maybe not so much in Western Australia, it gets dragged down a wee bit. But as you notice, it might have gone northwards here if you were monitoring close enough. And that's because of the high. The slow moving high, moving into Western Australia, and it expands the air pressure right out into New South Wales. And as it does that, it kind of pushes the heat back northwards. And so that's why we're seeing some thunderstorms around, but they're going northwards as well as drier, cooler air moves in with that high pressure zone. So there's not a great deal of change in the coastal parts of South Australia, around Victoria and Tasmania. Showers around and a bit of a west to southwest wind. And up here around Queensland, you've got more showers with thunderstorm risks. And again into Monday, everywhere where you see the blue in the top half of the map, that's a chance of a heavy shower or thunderstorm. But notice the red line being pushed further northwards again. So short-lived little moment where it came down. But now in comes the big high, powerful high pressure zone, 1033 hectopascals, that is dredging back up the polar airflow. That comes up close to Adelaide, comes in across pretty much all of Victoria by the time you get through Monday. And of course, Tasmania, southerlies coming straight through there. It'll be a cold, windy day for you on Monday. Temperatures are going to be down in a number of places like Melbourne, and everyone really in Victoria and Tasmania feeling that temperature drop as we go into the start of next week. And our final map, Tuesday, this time more so in the morning, showing that southerly portion. And you can see how powerful that high is. That is controlling the weather for the entire continent. Anticyclonic roundabout up in the sky, everything goes around like that. So dredges up that southerly, which goes all the way up to the Queensland border. So you're going to feel the colder airflow coming through for you on Tuesday. It's not a major event, but it is going to be noticeable as far as temperatures, and we may see a dusting of snow right across parts of Victoria, New South Wales, higher elevation, obviously, up in the mountains and the hilltops. But yeah, this is a colder airflow coming through. It will retreat quite quickly, though, on Tuesday once the sun gets up, but it's a cold start with rain, showers, thunderstorms, snow flurries at higher elevation, and a bit of a strong breeze. The wind isn't too problematic, but I think you'll notice that wind, especially around the eastern side of the country. Thunderstorms developing through Queensland, mostly inland, perhaps slightly higher elevation. Coastal areas don't look as bad. And then you've got that sort of windy setup going all the way out to Western Australia, where it'll be dry and warm. But look at the red line. It has disappeared out of Australia now. It's gone back into the tropics. So this is definitely a large, powerful system controlling Australia's weather by the time we get into Tuesday of next week. And by the way, as that moves eastwards, frosty weather returns and the winds, they do finally ease back. That's all from me for today. I'll be back again tomorrow, Thursday. We'll take a look at your 7-day rainfall across Australia, plus, of course, the Flight Sim flyover. I'll see you again tomorrow.